let me start with two powerful statistics that highlight why we're here today. So according to the article, 5 Emerging Job Trends in 2024, published by the Data Law blog in July, despite recent upheavals in the tech industry, data job postings have shown remarkable resilience. The number of jobs for data scientists, data analysts, data engineers has decreased only by 15% since the end of 2022 and has remained quite stable since the beginning of this year. This stability underscores the enduring demand for data skills across industries, but it also, I guess, is quite specific in those job roles that we're looking at. As we all know as well, there is a plethora of other roles that involve the use, the sourcing, the wrangling, the presentation for effective business decision-making of data, and many of those roles are now transitioning into being more data apparent. Product UX, there's all sorts of sales, all sorts of roles being heavily impacted by the use of data, and data skills are now paramount in much more sectors and industries and roles as well. So there's been somewhat of a decline amongst a massive decline in other sectors, but we've certainly seen the stabilisation and hope to ride that out and see that uptick now. Next slide, Sam. As I've said, just before I go on to the next slide, there will be a poll though. At what stage are you at in your data journey career? Are you just starting out, a mid-level professional, advanced expert, considering change, or exploring data out of curiosity? We'll keep an eye on that and come back to that shortly as well. As I said though, even more compelling is the long-term outlook. AI, which is fundamentally driven by data, is projected to increase UK GDP by up to 22% by 2030. This is a staggering figure, highlights the transformative power of data and the immense opportunities it presents for career growth. These statistics tell us something crucial. The field of data analytics isn't just weathering the storm, it's poised to drive significant economic growth in coming years. This means that the development of your data skills isn't just about job security, it's about positioning yourself at the forefront of an economic revolution. Throughout this webinar, we'll explore how you can capitalise on these opportunities. We'll discuss the evolving landscape of data careers, from entry-level analyst roles to cutting-edge AI engineering positions. We'll hear from industry experts and the skills they're looking for and the impact of data in their fields. We'll introduce you also to the LSE Data Analytics Career Accelerator, a program designed to equip you with the skills needed to thrive in this data-driven future. Whether you're considering a career change, looking to upskill in your current role, or simply curious about the possibilities of the world of data, you've come to the right place. Let's dive in and explore the exciting career paths that await in the realm of data analytics, something that I'm developing, certainly a passion for myself and with my team as well. So, though, without further ado, if we can go to the next slide, it is my great pleasure to welcome our panel today. I'll ask that I might start around my screen, if it's okay, if I can ask you to introduce yourselves, and I might start with you, Cecilia. Welcome, Cecilia. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Well, hi all. I'm Cecilia and I'm the hiring manager of Wiro, so I take care of the hiring process for the technical profiles and also the data professional. So yeah, I'm here to give you my point of view regarding the situation of the hiring process for data professional. And well, that's it.
Wonderful. Thank you ever so kindly. I'm going to move to Ollie next. If everyone could turn on their cameras, if that's okay, I would love to see you all, and I'll ask you to introduce yourselves one by one. Ollie, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And hi, everyone. So yeah, my name's Ollie. I'm only Oliver if I'm in trouble with my dad. So I got a bit nervous when I first saw that. But yeah, my job is a VP of products at a company called Fin, which is a car subscription provider in Germany. As product I'm data's best friend, and hopefully the feeling is mutual. So everything for how we develop our products, improve it, data is a fundamental aspect of that. So yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Ollie. Looking forward to your insights as well. Someone I'm very familiar with speaking to on a webinar format is Elodie. Elodie, welcome. Great to see you once again.
Hi there, Daniel. Thanks for inviting me. So I'm Elodie Hudson. I am a graduate of the LSE Data Analytics Career Accelerator, which I finished in June 2023, and I used it to do a complete career change, having spent 16 years as a secondary school science teacher and a scientist before that. So I'm now working in data. I work for a software company. I'm director of development there, and I look after the development teams and the data team, and we sell software to the railway industry. So I'm here to share my experience of making that transition and what it's like now working in data. And I'm now actually also in the position to hire data people. So I've got some familiarity with what we're looking for as a business in our new data people.
Brilliant. Thank you. I love your story, Elodie, and it continues to evolve. I think every time we catch up, you've got a promotion or a new role. Barbara, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, all. My name is Barbara, and I'm Analytics Manager at Birdie, which is a health tech scale-up providing software to domiciliary care companies. I'm based in London, and in my role as Analytics Manager, I've done various things from being a hiring manager to being an individual contributor writing code, and also being a data product manager. I had my own career transition as well. Prior to my role in tech, I was in the charity sector where my love of Excel spreadsheets led me to a career in data. So very excited to talk about this today.
Love that. And we've had some amazing stories from the charity sector using data. And I think it's also a sector in many ways that continues to make its digital transition as well. Looking forward to hearing more. Barbara, thank you. Joel, welcome. Good to see you again as well.
Yes, hello again. So my name is Joel. I am a business analyst or business data analyst at a wealth management firm in Burgess Hill, so not too far away from London. And my role is kind of analysing client data, making sure we are acting in the best interest of our clients and servicing them well, and also looking at internal processes and how we can automate and streamline and make sure everything internally runs smoothly.
Brilliant, Joel. Thank you. Looking forward to your insights, your valuable insights as well. It's quite a big panel, and it's my pleasure to firstly thank you all for your time. But I'm really looking forward to your insights and answering some of the questions that people may have along the way. Sam, if we can go to the next slide, just to outline the agenda very, very briefly. And now that we've set the scene with those statistics that I said earlier and the growth that we're expecting in data-related roles, this webinar is structured into four main parts. Obviously, first we'll explore the evolving data career landscape. We'll dive deeper into the current job market trends and discuss how data roles are changing in the advent of AI and other technologies. Next, we'll take you on a journey from basic spreadsheet skills to advanced analytics, discussing the pathway in which to achieve that. Discuss the importance of foundational skills, but also explore more advanced capabilities that are in high demand. We'll introduce you to the Career Accelerator, explaining how that does provide you the skills as well. And then if we've certainly got time, and I'll try and manage this so that we do, we'll get to as many questions as we can from the audience as well. But the objectives are to provide you a clear understanding of the current and future landscapes, highlight the skills that are most in demand, and demonstrate how we can assist with that as well. Just before I get to some questions for the panel, and if we can go to the next slide as well, the evolving career landscape, data career landscape. So if we dive deeper into job market trends, as we discussed earlier, the data job postings have shown remarkable resilience. But according to that article, its roles, like the data scientists, engineers, have decreased only by 15%, but let's consider what this means. Stability. While we've seen that slight dip, it's crucial to note that 15% decrease is relatively small compared to the broader tech industry, as I'm sure many of you are aware, and hopefully none of you have been impacted, but potentially so. The quick recovery. So the article also notes that these numbers have remained quite stable since the beginning of the year and slightly earlier than that, suggesting the data job market has quickly found its footing after the initial adjustment, and then ongoing demand. The resilience underscores the continued importance of data skills across various industries, companies recognise that data-driven decision-making is not a luxury, but a necessity for remaining competitive. And there are so many organisations, certainly that we speak with, but we also our learners are a part of, that are still in their infancy of their data transitions or digital transitions as well. So it is looking extremely positive for those either looking to commence, advance, or change careers, as many of you the panel have. So that does bring me to the first question for the panel, though, which is, how has the demand for data professionals in your organisation or industry changed over the past year? I might start, if that's okay. Barbara, how do you feel about tackling that one first?
Sounds good, Daniel. I'll give it my best shot. I would say that over the past year, we've seen redundancies across the industry. I was at a dinner with some data leaders probably 2-3 months ago now, and 75% of the table said their own companies had redundancies in the past 12 months. And that has only increased since then. Redundancies has continued. So I'd say in that sense, as we've seen from the stats, that there is a decrease overall in opportunities for data professionals. However, on the flip side, I believe a lot of this work that was maybe previously done by data professionals is now being expected to be done by other people in the organization that don't necessarily have a data specific role. And so what that means is if you're working somewhere that uses data, that maybe previously if somebody else who had a data role was doing that analysis, that maybe it's something that you can pick up yourself and learn your data skills by staying in your same role, but doing data work that maybe was previously done by somebody else, because I do see a decreased demand for data specific professionals as a result of redundancies that are happening quite widespread.
It is interesting. And I said that at the top, there's so many other roles now impacted and benefiting from effective use of data. I think that supports your point there as well. But future-proofing one's career in a data-driven economy is exactly the opportunity. Anyone else want to tackle that one before I move on?
I would talk. I wanted to give an opposite example, basically. I work in WeRoad, that is a travel tech company. So we are in the travel field. And basically what happened over the last year was that we decided to take a step forward, and we decided to hire the first data professional. Before, we only had a data analyst and a data engineer taking care of all the data team. And in a year, we decided to hire 2 data analysts, and we are now hiring for 2 other positions in data. So yeah, we decided to recognize how important and how powerful is data. So in our case, considering that I am part of our scale up that is now growing, I see how important it is, the demand for data professionals. So yeah.
That's excellent to hear. And I'm sure there's many cases of organisations in a similar vein. Anyone else? Elodie?
Yeah, can I add something, Daniel? Yeah, so in my organisation, I'd say, well, I know that our demand for data people is growing. That's partly because we're a small company, but we're also a company that's near the beginning of that data analytics maturity journey. And I think a lot of small companies are in that same position as well. In fact, some quite big companies. And when I did the course, it was sort of easy to believe that everybody was using the most advanced, fancy tools that were available. But the reality is, I think that a lot of companies are only just beginning to tap the potential of the data that they have. So from that point of view, I would be a little bit more optimistic about being able to use data skills in a wide range of organizations.
Spot on. It's interesting, isn't it? I really appreciate those insights, and it is very individual from organisation to organisation. While we look at a macro set of data inputs, there are those other areas maturing as we evolve into the digital economy, different organisations and different sectors taking off as well, which has been really interesting to view over a period of time. I've got a question for Ollie and Cecilia coming up, but I'm going to move to the next slide and give, I guess, a further overview of what Barbara said as well. And that is time spent on data tasks. As we see, The Multiverse Skills Intelligence Report of 2024 reveals some interesting statistics about the time spent on data tasks in a workplace. Employees spend an average of 14.31 hours or 36% of their work on data tasks. This statistic demonstrates how integral data skills have become across various job functions. However, workers lose about 4.34 hours or 11% of their work week due to inefficient data task completion. This highlights a significant opportunity for those with strong data skills to add value to organisations by improving efficiency, and there's a huge opportunity there as well. On to the next slide, if I can, before I come to the next question for the panel. So those in-demand types of data roles, there are data analysts, there are data scientists, there are data engineers. We're looking at machine learning engineers, AI engineers, as well, fintech experts and cyber security. But I think also the panel would understand better than I, the value lies in those other roles outside of those core roles that people are looking for, where they're transitioning into data. And that brings me to the next question for the panel. Which of these roles are you actively hiring for? And are there any emerging roles not on this list you see a need for? I'll start with Ollie, if I could, in the recruitment area. Of
course. Business intelligence managers is always something we're looking for. I think it's that great type of candidate that can wear many hats and take on many challenges. I think we always want to start with kind of smart people, have a good understanding of data, and those profiles, I think, as you're on your previous slide, can come in many shapes and sizes. So you have e-commerce, more marketing focused type of people. The flip side, you can have more finance structured and focused people. So there's always a big demand for us on that side. I think the one that's missing for us at the moment is more of the data science side of roles. And for us, it's been a hard conversation we've had for a long time, but I think we always look at the build versus buy when it comes to anything we want to develop out. So should we build something ourselves or should we buy off the shelf? I think a couple of years ago, if you wanted a really specific model, you basically had to build it yourself, which required hiring a team and so on and building structure around that. I think now there is so many models, or just look at ChatGPT or whatever is out there, that you can just get off the shelf, and anyone can use those tools very, very easily. There's always a challenge there, is when is it worth to build the stuff in-house, especially when you can start getting results from some of these models in literally 5 minutes. I think that might be a market-specific challenge or an industry-specific challenge, but that's a split we see at the moment.
That is interesting, and we'll touch on a lot more of that upcoming as well. Is there anyone else with, I guess, identifying emerging trends that we should make the audience aware of?
I think from our side, data is becoming more and more important for everything from a compliance point of view through to a process point of view. And so a lot of actually the work that we're doing at the moment is around how can we improve data collection and general processes so that we're not increasing staff time and admin team time on, if you like, basic tasks that don't require a really qualified member of staff to do. So we're spending a lot of time looking at how we can transform unstructured data in kind of handwritten notes or voice notes into a more structured format where we can then complete the analysis that we need to. So that's a big part at the moment we're trying to do, is how can we use data skills and data professionals that take their various different guises and actually use that to mean that people that aren't data professionals can spend their time doing what they're good at, which would maybe the client relationships and things like that.
That's a really good point, and it ties in so well. I'm mature in age, I can say that, I think, and do recall the introduction of Microsoft Office into the workplace, where everyone freaked out and said, I'm going to lose my job, or accountants, Excel will kill accountants, whereas quite the opposite has occurred. But what we've also witnessed is a transition from analysis for business impact as opposed to certainly entry in many cases, and now we're going into the next evolution of data in business that we'll touch on shortly as well. Thank you kindly. If we can go to the next slide, looking at those skills in demand, 86% Well, let's look at those specific skills that are in most demand. So programming skills, 86% of data scientists reported Python as their main programming language for current projects. This highlights the importance of Python skills in the data science field. Database skills, SQL remains crucial, appearing in up to 60% of all job posts alongside Python, and underscores the continued importance of database management and skills in data roles. AI and machine learning, with rapid growth in AI engineer and usage. Skills in areas such as deep learning, natural language processing, and computer vision are becoming increasingly valuable. Visualization, when we designed all of our career accelerators, we partner with industry, and visualization and data for rapid decision making was critical. So visualization tools such as Tableau, Power BI are essential for communicating insights effectively, as is cloud computing. Familiarization with cloud platforms is increasingly important as more data operations move to the cloud. And then soft skills. According to the article where the top 5 workforce trends you need to know in 2024 from Hayes, the recruitment firm, communication and self-motivation are 2 of the most in-demand soft skills among employers right now. These are crucial for data professionals who need to explain complex insights to non-technical stakeholders. One should never dismiss also what that means for you as an individual with your transferable skills that we'll touch on again shortly, but everyone has transferable skills that will hold you in great stead for a role in data, regardless of the background that you've been in, potentially some more so than others, obviously, but it's also those soft skills that you can bring to a role that are going to be highly valued by employers as well. Next question for the panel then is, what specific data skills are you looking for in candidates today? Who would like to start with that one?
I'd like to start, Daniel, if that's okay. So we are very specifically looking for an advanced SQL data analyst. And I think for us as an employer, but also for anyone who's a candidate, it's important to have a really clear understanding about what sort of role you want to do, and can distinguish what you want to do with all the other things that might qualify as being a data analyst. Because what we found is that that covers a huge range of things, to somebody who might only really be using Excel in their day-to-day job, to somebody who's doing something much more sophisticated. But it's certainly the case that SQL remains really important, and we're looking for someone who's has several years of experience with SQL. And I think there comes a point in everyone's career where they need to know whether they want to start going down the sort of leadership and management route, or whether they're going to become a technical expert in what they do. And certainly there's space for all those core skills, the Python and the SQL, to just be really, really good at that. We're also looking for a data engineer, so someone who can build pipelines to create a data lake or a data warehouse for us. And again, we're looking for somebody who's got advanced skills in that, because we are talking about a situation where they're going to get to build that from scratch rather than just to maintain a system that's already in place. So that's quite a challenge, and someone needs to really know what they're doing to do that. So there are loads and loads of different sorts of jobs in data, and for anyone transitioning into that, it's good to understand what that landscape looks like and what might appeal to you and what you want to do.
Brilliant. Thank you, Elodie. Most interesting as well with those specific examples. Barbara or Cecilia, any insights into the specific skills you're looking for in candidates?
Sure. Yeah, I'll add to this. I agree with Elodie. In data analytics, the sphere I work in, those SQL skills are really important. However, I'd say, and we'll get to the AI point in a moment, with the likes of ChatGPT or other generative AI, the specific technical skills of writing advanced code for me is less important, because I have a great data engineer on my team who will use ChatGPT to write the coolest code. And he doesn't need to know that specific anymore. But what I really value are people who can go into a conversation with somebody who's not a data specific person. So they're talking to a product manager or they're talking to an account manager, and they can come out of that conversation, know exactly what data will be useful for that other person to do their job better. And so who can come out of a meeting with a product manager, for example, and say, okay, I hear what you're saying about this new feature you're building. These are the metrics we should use to measure it, and this is where we'll get that data. And who can really understand and have this curiosity about this context they're working in, and be able to bring this soft skill of communication into that. Because I'd say with that, that'll really set candidates apart from people who are really just strong at the SQL or the coding, and don't have that additional soft skill.
I do agree with Barbara. I was about to say that communication skills are very important. I'm not a technical person. I don't have any data analyst background, but the first thing that I'm looking for when I'm hiring a senior profile is their ability to explain me what they do and what they will do. So that's what I'm looking for. Easy communication, because yeah, now they are explaining to me, but then they will have to explain to stakeholders, businessmen. So they will have to adapt their communication to the person they are talking with. So this is very important. Then about the position that I'm hiring right now, I'm hiring a machine learning engineer at the moment. That will be an overlap between data engineer and machine learning engineer. The overlap is because as we are a small company, of course, we need some overlap between the roles. But yeah, so speaking of technical skills, I'm looking for someone very strong in Airflow, for example, able to manage MLOps pipeline. So it must be able also to having an understanding of cloud environment. And this maybe has been the hardest part, like the hardest skill to find. While when I'm hiring for analysts, because I'm hiring also for a product data analyst at the moment, I agree that SQL is very important. It has been here for a while, but it's still hard to find someone that is very proficient. Plus, I'm looking for someone with experience in e-commerce because the position is very senior. So this has been a problem for me as well. Big experience in e-commerce world. So yeah.
Daniel, you're on mute. Rookie move.
I should find myself for that. I don't think I've ever done it in a.
I'll give you my account details. It's all right. No worries.
And I was on a roll too. I was saying thank you for your insights, and also some of those tips for the skills that we're looking for in those transitioning into data and so forth, which we've had some insights and we're going to touch on more so. And there's some specific questions I'm going to get to toward the end for people as well. But we do want to touch on how AI is impacting the industry as well. I will not touch on it. We want to dive deep into it actually. So according obviously to the World Economic Forum, the report cited in the Hayes article, AI could result in the creation of more jobs. These range from newer specialist jobs such as prompt engineers to roles in high demand, for example, electrical engineers and those who work with data. The low code market, which is closely tied to AI and data analysis, is forecast to grow at an average annual rate of 22.9% from 2023 to 2030. This suggests an increase in demand from professionals who can work with low code and no code platform, democratize data analysis. My question that comes from that, for the panel also, is then how are you integrating AI into your data operations and what new roles or skills have emerged as a result?
I'm happy to add on this one. Yeah. So very linked to the previous slide, we focus a lot on no code and low code solutions. It's our starting point for basically every single thing we do. So we've made a role called a business automation manager, or BAM, and that's a specific job, is to come up with no code or low code solutions. So their work and linking and work with other data professionals is split into two. So one is like the regular data reporting, which is very much around, well, we understand what we want to report on, and it's around how can we enhance that reporting with AI. If you use no code or low code or ever had experience of using those tools, if you haven't, like go and try it. You can literally just like integrate with another platform in about 3 minutes and then have that insight gathered in no time. So you take Joel's example of loads of unstructured data and you want to see how many times customers are complaining about the price. Cool, that's gone from hours or week-long tasks to a few minutes. The second segment for us is ad hoc reporting, which is just like, I wonder if kind of questions. So literally had one last week, and it was on that retention analysis topic of how many times customers are mentioning these 3 keywords in their conversations with us, whether it's phone calls, emails, or live chat. Cool, right? That's an ad hoc request. We can get that answer very, very quickly. So I'd really split it between the two of regular reporting and ad hoc. And the skills I think that contribute to that is really knowing which tool is the right tool to use. I know AI is a big buzzword at the moment. It's not always the best solution. Sometimes putting it into an Excel sheet and just doing a search statement is sometimes the right one. So having the skills to understand what's the best tool for the job is critical.
Excellent, Ollie. Thank you. That's interesting. Anyone else incorporating, integrating AI into their roles or organisations on a regular basis? I think everyone would be in some degree.
We're at the very early stages of looking at how we can integrate AI, and when I say AI, I mean, you know, proper AI rather than nested if statements kind of thing, into the business. And the key thing we're looking at is how that can, like Ollie said, manage the regular reporting and allow the rest of our admin team who maybe aren't data professionals to kind of self-serve at a higher level, so that they can actually self-serve on ad hoc as well as the regular stuff we do. So, you know, Power BI and Tableau and these data visualization tools are great because they allow people to self-serve. If you create an interactive dashboard, people can get the details they want from those dashboards. But by integrating AI into the business further, it actually allows people to go further than those dashboards would allow. But a key part I always think of when you're integrating AI, like Ollie said, is making sure it is the right tool and fully understanding what the business problem is before you just try and jump to that solution. And I think that's a key skill that is kind of becoming very clear, is understanding that problem before you find that solution, which often comes from communication and people soft skills rather than technical roles as well.
Excellent.
I think just to add something on the flip side of this question of saying where we're not integrating AI, would be that we tried connecting an AI tool to our data warehouse so that non-technical users could ask the AI, and the AI would then structure a SQL query to get the result from the data warehouse. And we found that the AI wasn't able to understand the flow context of the warehouse and was consistently coming up with the wrong result and making the wrong assumptions about what is, I guess, what is the definition of different tables or fields. So I'd say then as a result, like one role that's become more important is that role of knowing, okay, where is our data? What is it called? Because AI wasn't able to like put those pieces together. I think in the future it will be able to. And then roles like mine might become a bit more redundant, but for the moment, there's still a lot of value in knowing where data is at, because that's something that we haven't been able to get AI to do successfully yet.
That's interesting.
I'd like to just follow what Barbara said and say that's exactly why we haven't gone down an AI route with our databases, because our databases are really very complex, and the software that we sell is very, very complicated, and it really takes a nuanced understanding of that system in order to ask the right questions, get the right answers, and importantly, know that you've actually got the right answers. If we did go down an AI route in our business, I'd say it would be more likely in the sort of peripheral activities like working towards our ISO 9001 compliance. We already have ISO 27001. But those sorts of processes that rely on heavy documentation, I think, can be enhanced by AI. And also in our own staff onboarding processes, the ability to use an AI tool for new joiners to quickly answer questions about all of our processes. I could see that being useful, more useful than actually helping with our core data activities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think there's the efficiency gains across the board. And I guess also one thing that I think about a lot is the amount of tools that we all use that are using AI in their own way, in their own right as well, be it your CRMs or or your Google Suites or anything like that, it is certainly being included in that macro sense as well. So it does create efficiencies. It does create massive opportunities to use it right. And I think the ethical component is something that we're going to touch on shortly as well, which is a really, really important piece for people to be able to understand and therefore stand out when looking for roles specific as well. If we can go to the next slide, I'm just going to give some wrap around this one and some key takeaways, I guess. It's particularly interesting in the evolution that we're seeing in these roles. Many are becoming more specialised, focusing on particular industries or technologies. For instance, we're seeing a big rise in demand for financial data analysis or analytics, analysts even. Healthcare, we even saw a lot of that in the news recently, and AI ethics specialists is on the rise, we've seen as well. It's a diverse range of roles and underscores a crucial point that the field of data analytics offers multiple pathways for career growth and specialisation, whether you're interested in the technical aspects of managing data infrastructure, the analytical side of deriving insights for business decision making, or the cutting edge world of AI and machine learning that are opening up. There are opportunities available. The resilience we're seeing in the job market, combined with this variety of in-demand roles and skills, paints a promising picture for anyone considering a career in data analytics. It suggests that developing your data skills isn't just about securing a job for today, but positioning yourself for long-term career growth in fields that are becoming increasingly central to how business operates, and even how charity and healthcare and the like operate as well, which is amazing, I think, as well. So there's some key takeaways, I guess, for mine and for the panel. If we're thinking about the audience, which the poll shows 41% are looking to start out in data, 12% of mid-level professionals, 3% are advanced experts, 29% are considering a career change into data, and 15% are exploring data out of curiosity. It's a great spread, and I think it's indicative also of the job market as well. But those that are starting out and considering their change, I guess for the panel, what is the most important thing someone starting out could focus on to secure their dream roles? I might go to Cecilia first on that one.
Okay, well, I would say, especially for starting, because I see that a lot of questions that we are receiving are regarding the entry-level position. So for sure, I think the most important is continuous learning and show that, one thing that is very important, I think they should, focus on is take courses, do networking, join courses, online courses, classes, in order to see, that they are doing activities in order to improve their CV, their resume. So I would say that, especially for entry-level role, I'm looking for that in their CV for sure. Another thing is the pillars. So I would say hard skill that when you are starting, I would say SQL, of course. A bit of Python is not so requested, especially like data intensive role. No, there are AI assistants also that can support you, but not neglect the theory. So a bit of Python can be important. We did not mention that before, but again, another thing that I'm looking for when hiring to entry levels is data visualization tools. I don't know, Tableau, could be Power BI. We use both. I don't know, there are plenty sense. I'm not technical. I know just these three, but I guess, again, this is another thing that I'm looking for when I'm looking for someone starting. Then when advancing, we were talking about communication. So for sure, I'm looking for that. I'm looking, the ability to communicate and also do mentorship for more juniors. Again, another thing that I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for someone being leader already, of course, but being able to explain to more juniors. Again, it's something that I'm looking for very senior people in data careers. Yeah, I would say that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Cecilia. I guess it's not the question also is the most important thing for someone starting out or changing their career into data that people should focus on? Joel also is a graduate of the Data Analytics Career Accelerator. What did you feel was most important in you securing your role?
So I actually had my role when I started the Career Accelerator, but what the Career Accelerator really allowed me to do was take that step from the entry level role, kind of, I guess, to the more mid level role. I think when I was starting out, the most important thing I found was having the soft skills. You know, as a entry level role, that the employer doesn't expect you to know everything. So firstly, a kind of acknowledging that you won't know everything and you're there to learn is really important. I think then also, if you can have a portfolio built up, that's always a great tool to have. It shows your interest in data, it shows you're taking it really seriously, and that you are passionate about the job you want to have. It also starts to kind of show your employer what road you might want to be going down in the future, if you have a good portfolio built. But yeah, the most important thing as well, I guess, is just having a basic understanding of all of the technical elements that you may want to go into, not so that you can do everything straight away, but so that when you're being shown something, you understand what those basics are, and have a solid foundation to build on.
Yeah, and to add to Joel was saying there about the portfolio bit, I'd say it can be really helpful to think about how you can build your portfolio in your current role. So I mentioned that my previous career was in the charity sector, and actually the first time I wrote SQL was when I was needing to run a report for the charity, and usually would just go to somebody in the tech team every month and ask this guy to run the report for me. And he said, why don't I just send you the SQL? And it started by me just hitting enter within the tool he set up for me every month. But then I realized, oh, wait, I can change this filter by myself. I can add this column by myself. And from that, within a role I was already doing that wasn't a data role, I was getting a little bit of exposure to SQL. And from that kind of grew my SQL skills into eventually writing my own SQL queries and using this as an example of what I could write in SQL when I then went to get a data specific role.
I love that. It's interesting. I spoke with someone only the other day, career changer, I think, from memory. And I went back to some experience I had job seeking many, many moons ago with understanding the importance of doing a little bit more than someone else sometimes as well. So what I did suggest, and I think, Barbara, in your previous sector as well, if you are looking to change careers and develop a portfolio, there's many ways that you can go about that. But one way that I would recommend people consider is, if you're involved with, if you have a passion for a cause, or if you're involved with a kids sporting team or something like that, there are many ways in which you can volunteer to use data within that environment for the betterment of the club or the charity or the firm or whatever it may be. School, for example, there's so many, in many ways, there's such green fields, but volunteering to say, look, can I look at a way in which we can attract more donations in winter as opposed to traditionally attracted mainly in spring when people are spring cleaning or whatever it might be. Using data is a way to develop not only your skill set, your portfolio, but when you're asked that question in an interview, what experience do you have? You've got an answer straight away as well. And that goes a long, long way. It shows your characteristics as a person, but also the experience that you do have as well. Any other comments on things to consider or focus on?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, Daniel, because one of the problems with continuing to keep your portfolio up to date when you're in a role is that you can't usually share the work that you're doing in your role, because it's data that it belongs to the company and you wouldn't want to make it public. So your idea of doing something for the clubs or societies that you're associated with is really fantastic, and something that I'm planning to do myself with my cycling club, just to carry on building those skills. And when I was on the LSE course, one of the videos suggested that you could download your own Spotify data and have a play with that and make visualizations. So there are loads and loads of free data sets out there where you can just go in and have a play and download the free tools and build up your experience beyond the formal training that you might be doing in preparation for getting a data role.
I'm a big advocate of it. And again, if you're comparing two candidates and one has done it and one hasn't, well, I know myself as a hiring manager who I'd be more likely to give that or to award that opportunity to. Conscious of time, so I'm just wondering if there's a few things we still want to get through as well, but also I'm very, very keen to touch on many of the audience questions as well. But let's keep going and understand that transition, I guess, that people are looking to make from data basics into also more firm data skills and how to achieve that. So for the panel, I guess, back to the AI impact for your industry specifically, do you need to be considering that far ahead, or is it changing that quickly that it's difficult? I mean, we've implemented AI, and one approach that we've taken for this program was certainly to include live sessions, because it does change relatively quickly, and we wanted them to be the most up-to-date course inclusions that we can, because traditionally industry moves fast and academia, is challenged by the pace of change that occurs in industry at times. So we also felt that there was the opportunity of including live AI sessions within the Data Analytics Career Accelerator. But beyond that, is it hard to think that far ahead as to the impact it may have, or are you actually considering that?
Happy to throw an opinion out there.
Yeah, thanks, Ollie.
I think being a bit of a nerdy product geeky guy, we all claim that we look at the big vision. Rarely does it happen, but one of them is this that I like to look at. I think the bit that's really interesting with what's happening with data now and compared to other big transformations is the advantage that incumbents have with this movement. So if you take anything like e-commerce in like 2005, for example, everyone was trying to do e-commerce. Big incumbent businesses were struggling because they had to transform their whole business. Stock systems didn't work online, operational challenges, blah, 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 blah. Now, like any company can just create an account on some generative AI tool and start to create analysis. And before, startups used to have the advantage because they could launch, had none of the historical baggage as such. So seeing what some of the bigger businesses can do with ultimately like bigger data sets, more investment, more cash will be really, really interesting compared to what like some of the smaller startup companies can do. I have a bias, which I won't share, but I think the startup companies will still do well. But I think seeing how incumbents are actually much more competitive in this field and constantly chasing as they have in the last 10, 15 years with digital transformation will be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree. You touched on something as well, the startups and versus the established and things like that. When considering a change into a role or a role, and this is where career coaching can come into it, and I guess Joel and Elodie can speak to this as well. It is so important to understand the type of role, be it, and the type of organisation. Is it values aligned that you're seeking? Is it a large corporation where the data focused role might be quite narrow in its responsibility, or is it a smaller organisation that is growing and that role may be encompassing so many more responsibilities within one, enabling growth as well? But there's pros and cons to both, I think, that we'll touch on shortly. Then not lastly, I've got a couple of slides to get through, a couple of questions, and then we're going to get to the audience questions as well. If we move then to, I guess, emerging AI roles. The emerging AI roles. We're going to skip that one quickly, Sam, and go to, I think, AI's impact on existing data roles. We've touched on it already. Just on 21, if you can, Sam. So data scientists are increasingly expected to have AI machine learning skills, and analysts are using AI-powered tools, as we discussed, to enhance some of their analytical capabilities. Business intelligence professionals are incorporating AI insights into their dashboards and strategies as well. I guess we've touched on it already in terms of the skills that will become essential. Is there, just on the next slide, Sam, has AI changed the day-to-day work of data professionals in your organisations, and what new skills have become essentials? Whilst we've touched on that, I just wanted to revisit that at a micro level as well, because even in our organisation here at 4th Rev, we're using it and learning ourselves how to use it for the benefit of our business as well. Is there any examples of, or the new skills have become essential that you can consider that the audience may need to be aware of when considering what they would like to learn to make their transitions?
Happy to add a point. I think it actually touched on what everyone else on the panel said, is the soft skills. I think there's so much marketing going on around what AI can do. So you'll get everyone across the business saying, I saw this on LinkedIn, why aren't we doing this? So your ability to manage those conversations is critical, and to say, like, look, our problem is this is how we should apply this tool or this data or whatever it ends up being, I think is going to be much harder. Like, you'll see CEOs all over the place saying, I've seen people use this. Yeah, I think you're going to get much closer to the business. I think often data roles were somewhat protected, for want of a better phrase, from business roles. I think that's going to be flipped on its head. And I think Barbara said about the democratization of data. I think that's been a buzzword for a long time, but that's becoming much more real now. So yeah, I think expect a lot more of that stakeholder management and soft skills side of things in your roles going forward.
That's a really good point. I guess give us an emoji if anyone's heard, why aren't we doing that? And especially when it looks so good in a marketing sense, when someone's done a cool walkthrough or something similar. I'm sure we've all seen that in the workplace. And we do come back though, and I think it's so important for the audience to be really clear, and this is going to be one of the key takeaways. It's not just the technical. It's not just the technical. It is not only the business application of the technical, but it's so much the soft skills that everyone has mentioned repeatedly that is so important. So even though we do, and we'll focus a lot on AI discussions around AI and how that is creating opportunities and changing the way in which we work, it doesn't change the fact that the soft skills are what employers are still seeking and will for forevermore as well, to make the most of those opportunities and add value to the roles that people are employed in. Just on the next one, Sam, if I can. AI and automation, we're going to just briefly touch on. I'm sure everyone's got some excellent examples here, but whilst it's creating great opportunities, there's also automating certain tasks. And as the slide says, the WEF cited in the Hayes article suggests that AI could result in the creation of more jobs overall. However, the nature of work is changing. So routine data tasks are increasingly becoming automated. There's a growing emphasis on high-level analysis and strategic decision-making. And I'd go back to that business application of the outputs that AI can generate and the technical can deliver. And as Ollie and others have mentioned, the low-code market, which often incorporates AI, is forecast to grow at an annual rate of 22.9%, as mentioned earlier, which I think is possibly somewhat, I don't know, I think there's even more opportunity for growth in that, given what you've said, Ollie, as well. On to the question from that, how are you balancing AI automation with human expertise in your data teams? Barbara, if I can ask yourself that one briefly, I think you've already touched on it slightly, but that balance is most important as well.
For sure. I'd say within the analysts I've managed, it's really been up to the individuals to decide how to use AI best. And what I'm really then still expecting as a manager is how they're, completing their work, how they're communicating it. And so I'd say in terms of that balance, we're still kind of expecting the individuals to see what's out there and how they can use it. And I'd say for people who are exploring that, like a data engineer I spoke of, who's been great at prompting ChatGPT to write better code for him, like people who can show these skills are really going to be seen as leaders in the field. And then on the human expertise side, can they still bring in those soft skills and recognize what are the limitations of AI and where are there still things that an individual needs to do for themselves?
Wonderful. Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else in relation to the balance required? I guess I'd also, and I'm going to skip the next slide because we're going to touch on it, but the ethics element as well is an important consideration if anyone would like to comment on the balance, but also the ethical side of using AI in the workplace or anywhere for that matter.
Yeah, I'd say that I have a really good relationship with our data protection officer, which is a required role in the UK for companies of a certain size who are using personal data. And it's super critical, especially as I work in a health tech that has sensitive information, that we are extremely careful to not use that data itself when we are using AI, and that we have the correct documentation written before we're using any tools, so that we have our bases covered and that we're using data appropriately and definitely just not using data where it should not be used. So I feel that bringing that awareness has then made me more valuable, because people know that okay, they can trust me to think about how we are using the data before we go and try out any AI tools.
Just a self-interested question on that. The role of the data protection officer, how technical is that as a role?
I'd say our data protection officer is super well versed in what regulatory requirements are. And so she's not technical in terms of writing SQL per se, but she'll say, make sure you've documented the risks and this is the level of detail we need for your explanation of what this tool is. And so I probably wouldn't call that a technical skill, but more just an understanding of what level of documentation is required and where.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to move along to slide 27, if I can, please, Sam. We're going to just touch on, obviously, moving from Excel to data analytics or more advanced skills. And then we're going to open up the questions. So from spreadsheets to advanced analytics, the skills journey, the importance of foundational skills. And I know I've spoken at length about this with Elodie and Joel, and I probably would encourage people to go and look at those discussions that we've had much more in depth. But from basic spreadsheet skills to advanced analytics, this journey is crucial for anyone looking to build a career in data. First, let's consider striking statistics from the Multiverse Skills Intelligence Report from 2024. Earlier this year, 57% of employees have no or only very basic Excel skills. This might seem surprising in our data-driven world, but it represents both significant skills gap and tremendous opportunity. I guess, why is this important? Well, Excel and similar spreadsheet tools are often the entry point of working with data. They provide a foundation for understanding data structure, basic analysis, and visualization. However, the fact that over half of employees lack proficiency in these basic tools indicates a clear skills gap in the workforce. But there is opportunity. This is where opportunity comes in. For those willing to invest in developing these skills, there's a chance to stand out and add immediate value in many roles. Moreover, these foundational skills serve as a stepping stone for more advanced data analytics capabilities. Next slide, please, Sam. And I'm going to start with Elodie on this one, if I can. How important are Excel skills and that overview that I gave of that entry point for many discovering data and often a passion, I guess. But how do you see employees progressing beyond them in the workplace?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say this Excel skills are surprisingly important. When I got my job, which is just over a year ago, my son gave me an ironic mug that he found in a charity shop that says "I love spreadsheets," and it's kind of on a really early version of Excel. He didn't realize it was ironic. I thought it was ironic, but the actual irony was that that's exactly what I was using for the first few months in my role to get my head around this enormous messy data set that we have. Was serious spreadsheet skills. Myself and the data team have all moved beyond that, but that core work we did in Excel at the beginning was really, really important just to understand what we were dealing with. And I'd say it's really easy for us to underestimate the Excel skills of other people in our organization and also of our customers. And actually both are really, really important. And actually some of the value that we add as a data team is in upskilling the customer ops team and other people in our organization with what we take for granted as basic Excel skills, and sometimes with our customers as well. So we'll get tickets through our ticketing system, requests coming in for reporting, which actually would be unnecessary if our customers had the Excel skills they need to get more out of the data that they're getting out of our software. So it is a crucial starting point, and one that shouldn't be overlooked on that journey to developing those other skills in SQL, Python, R, but also Tableau and Power BI, the whole suite of tools that are available.
I love that. I knew that would resonate with your good self, Elodie. Joel, anything to add there from progressing from Excel, but understanding the importance thereof as well?
So I think firstly, if you can do it in Excel easily, why overcomplicate it? And if you just need to add up 10 numbers, you don't need to put together a SQL code. So you always want to complete your analysis in the simplest and quickest way possible, whilst maintaining accuracy and usability. So I see nothing wrong with doing things in Excel if that's the right way to do it. Just like choosing the right AI tool is really important, choosing the right visualization or analytical tool is also important, and Excel definitely still has its place. I think as well in the financial sector, so many models have been built over years in Excel, using the various different tools. Obviously, Power Query is accessible through Excel as well, so is VBA. So, it's not all just kind of auto sum. There are so many different parts to Excel that you can learn, and they all have their own benefits and drawbacks. So, exactly kind of like I said earlier, with having the foundation knowledge that you can build everything else on as you progress in your career, Excel is almost the foundation to the foundation, if you like. You can learn all of your foundations in Excel, and it's still a super useful tool. So it's not to be underestimated, but it's a very useful tool to use alongside other things.
And also, if I can term it this way, a gateway tool. I'm sure that people remember the aha moment they've had with different programs, but certainly with Excel as a foundational point of the development of passion for one's career. I mean, we've heard stories already of so many of you have transitioned careers, and I'm sure that was born of a moment where you went, wow, I really enjoy this, or that's amazing that this can do this. But progressing from Excel to the next slide, Sam, if we can, let's look at the progression from these foundational skills and more advanced capabilities. So database skills are in really, really high demand still, obviously. Beyond spreadsheets, professionals often move to database management. SQL, as we mentioned earlier, appears in up to 60% of data-related job posts. It's crucial for querying and managing larger data sets. Programming languages, Python has become almost the cornerstone of data science in many ways, machine learning, but remember 86% of data scientists report Python as their main language for current projects. Different roles will have different needs, of course, but in the progression of skill sets, Python is increasingly common and desired for database-specific libraries. Its versatility, it's powerful as well. Obviously, then data visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI allow for more sophisticated and interactive visualizations than spreadsheet charts. They're essential for communicating insights effectively. I can't, harp on that enough as to when we design the career accelerators that I'll touch on in a moment. We partner with industry first, and that was one thing that they were so insistent on, was the soft skills, but also the need to have impact from the technical through the effective visualization. Statistical analysis, understanding statistical concepts and tools is crucial for deriving meaningful insights from data. Gen AI and data analysis and machine learning and AI, as we discussed earlier. But the soft skills I've touched on, or that have been mentioned, the communication, so the ability, who was it that mentioned know what others need? It was earlier. I did write down that point. So the communication soft skill of being able to explain complex data concepts to non-technical stakeholders is crucial. but correctly, it is also getting that information first from a non-technical person and understanding or knowing what others need and bringing that to life. Critical thinking, obviously data professionals need to approach problems analytically and ask the right questions around that. Business acumen, knowing the value. So understanding the business context of data is essential to providing valuable insights. Adaptability, we find as a soft skill, given the rapid pace of technological change, the ability to learn and adapt quickly. The key is to continuously build on your skills, seeing each new capability as a stepping stone potentially to the next over a shorter period, a longer period, a career. It doesn't so much matter as long as we keep learning. And I think Cecilia said it so well, that continuous upskilling earlier is always highly valued from employers as well. I'm going to touch on only very briefly on the actual career accelerator, because I'm conscious of time and your time, if anyone does have to go, but then I'm going to direct the audience questions to an individual at a time so we can get through as many of them as we can. Just for the audience's benefit, just put the Q&A, your question in the Q&A. I won't be looking at the chat for now. We might be dropping some resources in the chat for your benefit shortly, but it's the Q&A that I'll be looking at for the audience questions. So enabling that progression we're very proud of the way in which the Data Analytics Career Accelerator with the London School of Economics and Political Science was developed. We partner with industry first to understand employers' needs, so much of what we've touched on today, and then couple that obviously with the very best of academic underpinnings, in this case with LSE, to produce the 6-month online career accelerator that is extremely practical. There's no exams for that reason. We would much prefer that you do develop a portfolio of your skills along the way than sit in an exam that you're never going to show an employer. And it's made up of 3 courses and 1 live industry-facing project at the end, enabling you to demonstrate to employers your experience as well. So if we can go to the next slide and the one after, actually, I'm going to ask very briefly Joel and Elodie about their experience in the program. But just as an overview, course 1, you'll be using tools like Excel, Tableau, and SQL to create visualizations and dashboards. Course 2 is data analytics using Python. Use Python to explore and visualize data and present key findings to stakeholders. Course 3 is advanced analytics for organizational impact. There you'll use Python, R, and statistical modeling to predict future business outcomes and make recommendations. And lastly, your learning outcomes then enable your participation in a live industry-facing project at the end. So you'll be grouped together in teams, you'll meet with one of our industry partners who will present to you a real data-related challenge, and as a team over a 6-week period, you'll come up with innovative and tangible solutions to that scenario, presenting your recommendations back to the employer in a consultancy-style presentation. Joel, if I can go to you first in this case, you've touched on it earlier, but you went through the Career Accelerator. I'd like to know from your good self, for the audience's benefit first, of it meeting your requirements and demands to advance your career. How practical was it in enabling you to achieve that?
So I think for me, I had been in my job for about a year, I think, by the time I started the Career Accelerator. I had graduated before that with a degree in sports engineering, and had decided that the design bit wasn't for me, but I really loved that analytical part that came with engineering. So I then, after kind of a year at the company, decided that I wanted to progress further, and so completed the course. And it was exactly like you say, those practical elements, how I was able to see that what the theory I was learning actually applied, how it applied to my job. That practical element is what allowed me to really progress here and ultimately kind of receive the promotion. I don't think if we had those practical elements and the opportunity to present the data kind of throughout the course, especially with that employer project at the end, where you were working with other students, that kind of really reinforced all of the learnings the whole way through, and I think is kind of what definitely made it enjoyable. Still very, very challenging, but but also actually achieve kind of the end result of promotion, and hopefully setting myself up for a long career in data.
Good on you. Thank you. Before I get to the audience questions briefly, Elodie, it's rigorous. It's 6 months, 20 odd hours a week, but it also includes the value of career coaching. How, I guess, did that enable you to make the big decision to transition your career into data?
Yeah, I mean, I had a very different journey to Joel, in that I wasn't already in a job where I could transition into a data role. I was looking at a complete career change at a much later stage in my career. So kind of a different set of challenges. And the course just gave me so much more than I bargained for, because technical skills learning was just fantastic. It was all new to me. It was a whole world I hadn't explored. So I really, really enjoyed that. But it was the career coaching that really helped me navigate that leap into how on earth do I find a role where I can apply all these new skills that I'm really enjoying, which also makes the most of the skills that I've already accrued in my long career so far. So that's where that really paid dividends, and it allowed me to be confident to go to potential employers with an offering that was, yes, I am entry level with respect to the data, but I am good at all these other things too, and I can help your organization. And it is a bit scary, and there's a bit of imposter syndrome. But there will be a job out there for someone like me who's got other soft skills which are quite well developed through many, many years of practice, and those new technical skills. And it's just about exploring the market, looking at people's profiles on LinkedIn and thinking what sounds good, what looks appealing, reaching out and talking to as many people as possible. So yeah, the program instills a kind of ethos of lifelong learning as well. And when I look back at my LSE portfolio bits that are in my portfolio, I went back to sort of update the SQL section, and I thought, wow, I've advanced so much in the last year compared to the SQL that I just did on the course. So you realize that the course just scratches the surface for these tools, and it's up to you to carry on developing your skills as you grow in your career.
I love that, and we love your story that continues to grow. Barbara's obviously been through a very similar transition. I'm going to get insights from Barbara, Cecilia, and Ollie on some of these questions that have come through, and thank the audience also. If anyone does, I'm a little over time coming up, but I think I'll get to Ollie first because it's product related, if that's okay. So Johnny's asked a question here. I'm a product manager currently considering learning new data skills and potentially switch careers. What advice would you give someone with this background? Ollie, I'd be interested to know if you think more PMs should have data specialisms.
Hi, Johnny. Crossing to the dark side, I see. It's all right. I'll forgive you. No, I think all the skills you've learned in product will be massively transferable. I think especially in the organization I'm in, that ability to understand the why behind a request, understand how you can bring that into production, and understand how you can deliver value really fast is skills that will be massively valuable for you in your transition into a new career. So I think use it as your strategic advantage. I'd definitely have it in your CV, definitely talk about it in your interviews. I think it goes back to what all of us have said this whole time, is those soft skills. I genuinely think product is a great space to learn some of those. So I think it will give you a massive leg up once you've built some of the data skills. So yeah, really good luck with whatever you do next, Johnny.
Excellent. Thank you, Johnny, for the question. The next one on my list is for Cecilia. How is the landscape looking for entry-level employees in data, do you feel?
Hi, Alex. Hi. Well, this is a very competitive moment, especially for entry level. Speaking of my company, at the moment we do not have entry level position. The reason why is because as we are like a startup going through the scale up moment, we are looking for more seniors role because we have to introduce something from the very like scratches. So we are looking for more senior. But to be honest, if I have like to look in the short time, like a year from now maximum, I think that what will change is that I will be looking for for entry-level position for sure, because I will have to guarantee to my employees some kind of a career path. So for sure, I'm gonna look for more junior roles. For this is something that we are already discussing, and I think will be very close. But right now, no. So thank you.
Thank you. And we certainly encourage that opportunity of highlighting those skills, both for web scraping, with the career coaching and element that helps people decipher what entry-level role may be best for them, or as Elodie certainly mentioned earlier, and as I've harped on as well, the need to highlight and understand the transferable skills. And I might ask Barbara this one. I guess anyone on the panel this one, but particularly to you, Barbara. Jonathan's asked a poignant question. Do you feel the market for data professionals is saturated, or is the saturation with people with no commercial experience in data and those with data experience still in demand? Do you have an understanding of the environment with those, or the saturation of the market for people looking for data roles?
I guess from my own perspective, which is in like software companies that are B2B, so they're software that is built for other businesses to buy, it does feel quite saturated, I'd say, in large part of the redundancies that have been happening in this sector. However, like I mentioned at the beginning, this really gives space to people who aren't maybe in data specific roles to then start doing more data work and getting that experience, because it might be that, you know, the analyst they used to work with has been made redundant and they're a product manager, and it's now like, okay, well, it's up to you, PM, to analyze your own feature. And so, yeah, I'd say from my very specific position, I would say it is quite saturated, but I'd be delighted to hear from other people on the panel because they're in different sectors, so might have a different feeling.
Elodie, when you're posting roles, how many applications are you getting for some of the roles that you're seeking?
Well, the first time I put out an advert for a data analyst on LinkedIn, I had 50 within an hour, and then it closed itself off because I'd used up my one free job advert without paying for it on LinkedIn. So it is competitive. It's difficult from our end though, because a lot of those people who express an interest are not doing so in a tailored, specific way. So I think it's really useful if you're applying to make sure that you know exactly what you want to do, exactly what you're offering, and why you want to come to this particular organization. We do our best to be very specific about what we're looking for, but we're often dealing with a sea of very generic applications which haven't been married up to what exactly we're looking for.
And it's so easy to click and apply and off you go. It's a numbers game for many, but I think that is such good advice.
And I'd say, you know, the advice that Tracy, my career coach, gave is good. Is that if you're looking, then you've got to make sure that you have pinpointed exactly what you want, and that isn't just the role, but it's also the type of organization that you want to work in and the sort of working environment you want to be in, whether you want to be hybrid or in office or what combination of the two, so that you're not just clicking apply on everything that you see, because there are thousands of jobs out there, particularly where I am here in the southeast of the UK. You need to be targeted in what you're looking for, and then make direct approaches, use your network of people that you know, that can help enormously, so that you're not just throwing out thousands of stabs in the dark, because that could get demoralizing, and it's less likely to yield the result that you want.
Or even more potentially costly is land a job that you're not a good fit for.
Yeah, and I was in a conversation with a recruiter last week because I said, well, hopefully we're really specific about what we want. That will self-select to some extent, and we'll only get the right people applying. And he just went, no, it doesn't work like that. People just scattergun approach on their applications. But if you are that one person who hasn't done that and who's done their homework and knows why they want that job, then you would stick out to us. when we're looking. So yeah,
And
it's a kind of,
and
it's a
the amount
two-way
of-
street.
Exactly, and it's the amount of effort that takes, and it's not much sometimes, but I think even understanding the organizational values of the company that you're applying to and incorporating the little bit of research that you may have done in your cover letter or in alignment with your resume and skills that are going to stand out, because if a company lives those values, they're going to understand the benefit of someone applying with similar values as well. There's many things that anyone can do that's that much more sometimes. As I said earlier about obtaining, be it some very basic experience, but showing that willingness to go that extra step, I think is paramount for those looking to start their careers, certainly, but also highlighting or understanding and being able to highlight your immense valuable and transferable skills into roles is also critical when demonstrating value for roles as well. I'm going to ask the panel now. I've got more questions. Some are course related, but the difference between our data science and data analytics career accelerator, and some specific questions from the audience that I'll answer offline as well. But I'm going to ask the panel if you can give the audience one tip or one takeaway from today's session. What would that be? And a question without notice, I guess, might be one for Cecilia first, or Barbara, if you're happy to go first. If you could advise the audience on one thing that they should take away from today's webinar, what would that be from your perspective?
Sure, I can go first. Mine
Sure.
would be that you can learn so much about data from whatever role you're in. Data is ubiquitous across roles these days. And so whether that's something you're already doing in Excel and learning how to do it better in Excel, faster, or figuring out the SQL that maybe somebody else is writing for a query you need and learning how to write that yourself. There's a lot of upskilling you can do from within your own role. And I'd really encourage you to think about those opportunities as a way to get experience in this field as you prepare for your own career pivot.
Well, I think my advice, my takeaway, is to grab every opportunity that you can find to learn and to stay current. I guess that it's a very challenging, of course, but also a word that is changing very, very fast. I'm no technical profile. I don't have this kind of education, but what I see from external is that in general, tech world and data world is changing so fast. Like before we were mentioning AI, like 2 years ago, it was not a product. Now it's literally helping me in all the tasks, and it's making tasks so fast. So be adaptable. Things are changing very fast. Don't be scared of change. Even though sometimes it can be scary, okay? But don't be, and consider that as an opportunity to learn and become better in your professional. So
Thank you, Celia. Elodie.
I would say take the time and effort to work out exactly what it is that you want to do, and then equip yourself with the tools and resources to work towards that. But keep an open mind, because you might change what you want to do as you go along, but work out what it is first and then do it.
Excellent. And last but not least, Joel.
I think that what we've kind of seen today is that everything is changing really quick. No one really knows what 10 years or 20 years time is gonna look like. So but what we do know is that soft skills will be important, and that ability to translate technical theories and principles and translate that and present it to non-technical people is kind of a really key skill. So if you were going to kind of prioritize working on one thing, that's probably what I would prioritize working on.
Wonderful. I think that shone through as well today. That's not just the technical, it's the soft skills and also the business application of the technical that employers are seeking. It is upskilling, the need to continuously learn. From my perspective also, there's sometimes hear the term imposter syndrome about career change, but also sometimes about learning new technology. It's not that daunting for many, but it is for some. So overcoming that learning fear that some people have, or that imposter syndrome, we've got people learning Python in quite a rapid rate to gain entry into different programs, and who have no background whatsoever, and they're picking it up very, very quickly. So upskilling is most importantly important. Knowing what you want, grabbing those opportunities or creating those opportunities, as Cecilia mentioned as well, and I mentioned earlier about doing that a little bit extra than others, and attending events like this. You've made a decision to not donate your time, to commit your time to learning from an amazing panel today. That's a fantastic thing to have done. You've got some people you can look up on LinkedIn. You've got some insights from all of us that will help you in arriving at what is often a very big life decision, to either start a particular career path or certainly change into one, and one that we here at 4th Rev have a great deal of empathy for you going through that decision-making process. So I can recommend that one thing that you could do is make the first step and book a time with an enrolment advisor to help them guide you as to what your opportunities may be when considering commencing or certainly changing your careers. From my perspective, and from all of us here at 4th Rev and LSE online, I'd like to take the time to say thank you to Cecilia, Barbara, Elodie, and Joel and Ollie, who had to run, and I much appreciate your inputs and so much of your time today. Thank you ever so kindly from us all here at 4th Rev. And then lastly, from my perspective, always Sam in the background does an amazing job, and thank you ever so kindly. From here, we'll be sending around the slides. We are going to update a couple of them with some of the outcomes. I'm going to reach out to some of those with the questions. Sam, can you make sure we grab the additional questions that I can answer directly and individually? Everyone else, thank you for your time. Thank you for your input, and may your career in data be a fruitful one. Have a great day.